So I'm going to start with where the outside connections happen. You can see here, I don't get why there's this third or this fourth lane on the 3-lane roads, but only I guess I do get it because it's only the inner city buses that use that lane. But unfortunately, when there's a 4-lane road, it works exactly the same way. So there really is no way to get more than 3 lanes in on each outside connection. And that's why I designed the freeways with 2 separate ones coming in at each side or each of the main connection points. First, I do connect the lanes straight at the outside connection. That gets them to come in more quickly. I've tried switching them around and leaving it unconnected. It seems like this does prevent the trucks backing up as much as possible. It still happens, but I do make it so this outside connection has more tourists and this one has more trucks, which does seem to help. Alright, so obviously the most important part of designing the freeways is the lane connections. And I can make a separate video about the design as far as the aesthetics. Basically, I just use the node controller mod, and it makes it pretty easy, like you can see here. And I can make a separate video on that if people want, but for this one, I'm going to go over more of how I design it functionally rather than aesthetically. So I've heard some people say that you shouldn't use lanes that go in 2 directions, and I can definitely see why, because you'll get more traffic coming into those lanes specifically, usually from this side. So say you've got all 4 lanes here. When this one splits off, lane 2 will have the most traffic, and that definitely can happen. You can avoid it by looking at where the lanes connect afterwards, and actually this would make it worse. But I haven't really seen the issue too much over here. I do that pretty much everywhere, and I do think it makes it better. As far as the lane connections work, you do kind of have to be ready to change it. I don't finish designing these freeways for quite a while once I start, and with all the other things with the mods, as far as if you watch my other video with the mods, that'll explain this traffic manager mod I use, as well as the outside connections mod here. And you'll just need to play with these values for all of these things here with the dummy traffic to make it work for your freeway design. Over here, I also do use lanes where a lane will merge directly into the freeway, and I only do that when I can use the node controller to stretch it out, and I think they might do that in real life. As far as this, I also will usually use this as a principle somewhat from what I see on freeways, but whenever there's too many lanes here, and I know you can only really have 5 lanes going past here because there is no 7-lane highway for these lanes to merge in, I definitely end the lane after the merge happens, and that also helps quite a bit. You don't have too many left exits, and that is helped a lot by splitting the freeways. So maybe even if you have lower lane freeways, that might be a good idea to have a split system like this, even if each of them only has 2 lanes. Then you could probably get a pretty good looking 4-lane freeway all the way through. Alright, so this whole thing I've redesigned multiple times, and I do have the lane or the speed limit decreased over here. It's still something I'm experimenting with, but it has helped quite a bit. So that you see it goes up to 65 here, but both lanes are 60. And that means that, say only this one were 60, then everyone would just use the second lane here. No one would use the right lane. But since they're both 60, and this is a very busy exit, even though I have the lanes split, this is one thing that will help and let you still split the lanes, because some traffic can still go this way, and when this way is busier, people will still definitely use this right lane. But when it's not as busy, it does keep this right lane, or this second lane, less busy. You can see the exit is just a more busy exit. I had actually had it so all this would merge in, but I split it here and made it so the exit comes off first, and this has helped a lot. So if you have any spot where traffic's merging in, like basically the way it is on this side, and it hasn't been bad enough that I've wanted to destroy all this and have to worry about moving everything, mainly because there's only 1 lane too that backs up here, and that's kind of just how it has to be. Because if you look at this, there are people going this way, quite a lot of them, but there are more people going this way, and it's kind of hard to give them more than 1 lane here. I've considered getting rid of that lane, and now that Actually, that lane was mainly for the left turn that used to go onto the freeway, but I built the loops. So there are spots where some lanes will congest more than others, and you kind of just have to change that as your city goes. If you generally try and pay attention to this, watch where every lane goes. This one's a problem spot because I've redesigned this exit so many times that now it's much busier than it used to be. I've added many more things over on those islands, so now this exit's pretty busy, and you can see, I can check it here. So you can see that it is a little bit of a problem when you have 43 going that way and 217 going that way. I feel like some of that right now is caused by the fact that, because that seems like not very many at all. Because obviously there are cars coming here. Yeah, I'm not sure why the traffic thing doesn't pick those up, because they're definitely going through there, but strange. But overall, that other side does work much better than this side. This side, I do have some issues, because you can see, if you look at more of the scale, in the amount of time that this one has to do all of its merging, get the traffic all steady, this one goes directly into a big mess. So all of this was definitely an afterthought, adding the second freeway. That wasn't my original plan on this map. That's something I kind of figured out this time. Down here, it's kind of hard to get everyone to use the lanes perfectly equally when, you can see this is kind of a mess. I just have everyone coming in here for now. What I've decided is to keep all of these straight, but since then the right lane ends here, if I were, this is one tip about connecting lanes that I should definitely mention. If I were to, say, connect this one like this, that would allow, it would allow cars to go from here to there, but then the traffic jam would just happen here. And I would have to keep doing that over and over again. And that's because, unlike if I were to do this here, because this is a middle node on the node controller, I'll show you that. If I were to do this, it wouldn't cause as much of a problem, but the reason that I shouldn't do that is because I think they would slow down a bunch for this lane change with how close the nodes are, so it's best to keep it straight right there. But I can show you, so here it's middle, and they'll see that as a lane change, and I see, at least with Traffic Manager, the AI generally avoids doing a lane change there. And lane changes are mainly the issue. Here, it won't see that as a lane change. It will see it the same. If you were to connect a lane to 2 here, it would see it exactly the same as continuing in their own lane. And really, I could connect that one because that makes sense, but I'll leave it for now. They'll see it as continuing in their own lane. So say I were to connect one of these differently, and right here the right lane used to end, and I found it definitely seems to work better with the left lane. And that's kind of why it doesn't look like the right lane ended initially. I have that whole thing there, but I don't mind that. I think it looks good. If I were to connect one of these to one of the other ones, they would just see that as continuing their own lane, and it would happen almost constantly. So you can take advantage of that, but if you do it in, like you can see I did it there to get cars into this exit lane here, that it's something that you usually want to avoid if you can, but if traffic's too backed up and there's a lane change everyone has to make, and it won't back up by having everyone do it at once, then I would go ahead and just add that. Otherwise, I would avoid it. And you can see another thing I do with lane connectors is you kind of just have to watch and see what happens. Usually the problem will happen is cars change into the same lane. So say this one could go like that. The purple line coming there and the pink line coming there would be the issue. And it could cause a big traffic jam. So whenever there's a lot of cars changing lanes in spots like this, I'll make it so that the spots where that's happening, I'll just slowly change it so there's not happening. And if I see one lane's not being used as much, I'll go back and look and just trace it down and see if possibly there's a specific lane that, because I've done this, I've made it so that they can never change lanes, and that is making it worse. You kind of just have to watch and go back. You have to be willing to wait too, because whenever I change these, it's complete chaos for a little while in the game, and you have to wait for it to balance out, and sometimes it's not as busy as it was before. So the way I redesigned this interchange here, and it looks like one of these got disconnected. That's probably fine. So I'm more focusing on the southbound side here. That was what would back up. It used to have, and those aren't connected either, but it used to have this left turn here, and there would be a left turn here to let people get on. Obviously, that wasn't working out super well. So then I added the freeway interchange right here and had both lanes turning left directly onto that, and these lanes would have to cross over. That wasn't working out super well either, so eventually I did this loop thing here, which is fairly simple. Down here, I decided to connect these lanes and make it so that they can't move over here. The main reason for everything that's done here, this crossover, as well as not letting them go over there yet, and both these lanes ending up as one right here, I did, it seems like, so I kind of just did this. So I have to track these down and fix them as it goes. It's not always perfect, but I did kind of just redesign this so there aren't any lane connectors here. I'm going to leave that just for now, or actually be a good demonstration. So what I would do with this, the way people are changing lanes, I still have the issue I mentioned before with the third lane being more busy. I'm just going to make this left lane stay. That I might change later if it's causing people not to use the left lane, but I think it should be fine. And then that one stays there, obviously, because I don't want to give any advantage to people coming in that lane. And then this one can definitely go over there, so these people can get their way over there. And that'll prevent the crossing that we were seeing before and a lot of the bad lane changes. But as you're seeing here, it is messing with the cars. So you'll see what happens there. And basically this kind of stuff will happen until all the cars that were already on the map coming through here have gotten through. Not all of them will do that, but some of them will, and it will make the traffic worse temporarily. So you kind of just have to wait to see if that helps or not. But I think it will based off my experience. Also, there are kind of too many of these here, so I'm going to preemptively not let anyone change lanes there, because those ones are kind of close. So then that one has the gap there, and they all have a good gap. So that'll help prevent traffic stopping from one lane change and then it snowballing down into even more doing that. So I separated these off. Instead of having this go to 6 lanes, so this merge in here, this goes 6 lanes, everyone's swapping all over. I actually had this exit there, go all the way down to 4, and then these come in separately. Another thing I did was up here, this exit used to be, or this exit here, you can see, used to come down and connect around here, but that didn't give these people very much time to merge over, and that also would increase the number of people in this lane trying to get over there. So all this space here has helped a bunch for this bigger downtown exit. So I moved that exit here, and that also helped quite a bit because it makes sense, so I wouldn't have a third lane that just needed to end, and then everyone who wanted to go there can just exit here and they can go that way. And then all the people here, obviously if they want to go down this freeway, they go over here, but also will reduce the number of people coming in there on my main freeway. I always like to connect these lanes unless there's no other option. I kind of need lanes to be changed in a spot like this. When it's really close to another node, it seems like they slow down a lot more.